right, my friends, it's Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project and the Fit Mother Project podcast. And we are joined by an amazing and special guest today, Susan Bratton. She's the co-founder of both Personal Life Media and The 20. She's an authority in biohacking, natural solutions for boosting libido, and non-invasive treatments that improve vitality for both men and women. Susan says that her superpower is courage, as she's truly made a career out of taking a powerful stand for our human right for pleasurable connection. Her work has been featured on the New York Times, CNBC, Today Show, and she makes frequent appearances on ABC, CBS, the WC, Fox, and more. Today we're going to have Susan talk about how we can biohack our way to better sex health, the diet and lifestyle factors that can lead to poor sexual health and how to correct those, and why we may want to consider switching from some pharmaceutical or invasive treatments into stuff that's actually more sustainable and regenerative for lifetime success. So Susan, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to just pick your brain and learn all about this amazing world of biohacking sexual performance.
Anthony, thank you so much. That was a really nice introduction. I don't know who wrote that. Was that your team or mine? But it sounded very good.
A little mix.
It was
but
a
it's
little
your
mix.
life experience, but I like to think I have a little bit of way with words. It's one of my gifts.
You really do. That was well said. And actually, it begs this question. I kind of wanted to start off with this idea of sexual biohacking, because people still say to me, what is that? And that's kind of what we're talking about today in a way, but I like to think about sexual biohacking and sexual regenerative therapies as actually two separate things. Mm-hmm. You know, as an intimacy expert, I taught lovemaking techniques, passionate lovemaking techniques, and bedroom communication skills for many, many years, decades. And I came to realize that all the techniques in the world are no good unless you have communication skills, and neither of those are any good if your parts aren't working. Mm-hmm. And I really got into both regenerative therapies and treatments for essentially de-aging us, mm-hmm. and then I got into not only getting back to where you could be or should be if you'd had health issues and wanted to reverse atrophy, aging, etc. I would consider that to be the regenerative piece. But then how do you even go beyond where you were? That's where you enter into the realm of biohacking. And that's what you might call male enhancement or female enhancement. Those would have been the old-fashioned words for it. Actually, just like when we go to the gym, and I'll give you a perfect example. I work out every day. Now, there are days I don't work out, but basically I have a commitment to working out every single day, and I have a trainer that I work out with every day because I can't do it myself, and it's so important for me running my businesses to be a peak performer that it's an easy cost justification for me that my whole life flows when I'm in the gym building muscle, strength, stamina, balance, and flexibility. Mm-hmm. However, a new place in my town just opened up called Jai Zen. I live in Mill Valley, California. And Jai Zen has a room full of Vaspers, cryo boxes, red light therapy beds, NanoVs, cell gyms, Live O2, all kinds of equipment that takes you from someone who can be really strong working out every day to going beyond what you could even do by working out every day. Since I've been going on the Vasper system, do you know what the Vasper is?
Is that one of those things that you're breathing in some particular air that's been, no, I don't.
That's the Live O2 thing.
Okay, that's the Live O2.
Yeah, that's where they like rob you of oxygen and then give you oxygen, so you get this kind of oxygen capacity flexibility. The Vasper system is kind of like a Nordic track and an Exer bike that uses the Katsu style of blood flow restriction.
Oh, that's cool.
While cooling your blood and body down so you can do high intensity interval training at more intensity than you normally would in shorter time. And the cuffs build up lactic acid at a higher level than you would just working out in the gym for an hour, which causes an endocrine cascade of growth hormone, testosterone, lowering nighttime cortisol so you sleep better and recover faster. And I literally hulked out. And I don't mean hulked out. I'm a tall woman. I don't build big muscle. I'm not a small, compact person. But I could literally feel adding a 20-minute thing on, I could literally feel my entire body, like my thighs just got like meaty, my arms, my, like my chest, it just all like, rah, got really big. That's what I'd been trying to do in the gym. And I could get strong, but I couldn't like pop it,
Yeah.
Vasper did that that's what I would call biohacking. I would call working out in the gym every day sexual regenerative therapy, because it's keeping you young, it's keeping everything going, it's working your vascular system. And so I like to make that distinction, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about, hardly anybody's even heard about it. Because what happens is that when you have, a lot of your listeners, because of what you do, they are the people who are saying, I can't live the way I've been living any longer. I have to make a change. I have to get a program I trust that's going to drop these 60 pounds, help me get my muscle, get my brain back, get my energy back. Well, for a lot of people, they don't even take their genitals into consideration. They end up thinking, oh, well, I guess I'm just not going to be as hard as I used to be. Well, I guess I'm kind of shrinking down there. Or for our female-bodied partners, well, I guess, you lose lubrication as you age. I'll just have to use more lubrication. Or sex is painful, but, I don't know, maybe I should take estrogen. I'm not sure what to do. And so what I'm really excited to tell you are the things that reverse aging, so you can have ageless sexuality. What I like to do is I like to have people thinking, I want to extend my sex span, not just my health span. I want to extend my sex span, because once you start feeling good, your libido comes back, but the parts got some damage. So how do you fix that? How do you remediate what happens when you have a lifestyle of the 21st century?
Right. And maybe we get into some of those damaging factors, like what is at the basis of, maybe we can use men's erectile dysfunction, because it's a tissue that gets engorged with blood, and the clitoris does as well. But what's at the basis of the damage to these parts? And and how do we understand that, and how do we fix that?
There's a couple of things. And one is that I know your podcast is an audio podcast, but I am holding up a banana for Dr. Balduzzi's viewing pleasure, because I really want you to imagine the penis as a banana. That's not a stretch, right? It kind of looks like one when it's erect. But what's interesting about the penis is that 50% of the penis sticks out of the belly. When you have an erection, half your penis is projected out of your body. Half of it goes in and down toward the testicles. And all of that penile tissue inside is erectile tissue. So it's just like a banana. If I peeled away the skin and this little membrane called the albuginea tunica, it would allow me to show you that if I took out all of that tissue, it would look like a banana's worth of tissue. Well, we women have the exact same amount of erectile tissue. When we think of the clitoral structure, we think, oh, the little tip, that little nub. It's kind of like a little nipple. It's not. It will cover your hand, the clitoral body, the clitoral arms, the clitoral legs, the clitoral shaft, the clitoral glands. Plus, we have a urethral sponge and we have a perineal sponge. You would have to hold all of that in two hands. And so when we talk about erectile dysfunction, it's a woman's game as well as a man's game. If a couple has been married for 20 or 30 years and they've been eating the same food and been basically being sedentary and living the 21st century lifestyle, then they both have ED. So what happens is a couple of things. One is it's a vascular issue, atherosclerosis, the slippery slope to heart disease and strokes, the stuff our parents died from. We get fatty plaque that calcifies the lining of the blood system. It has smooth muscle tissue and it gets stuck, like stiff.
Calcified. Yeah.
Stiff. And the way the penis works, the blood flows in and it's supposed to fill up the penis and lock off and hold the blood in. The most common type of erectile dysfunction is something called venous leak. It's actually coming right, it doesn't lock, it just flows in and flows right back out. So one of the things that happens is that women don't notice that they're not getting the blood flowing in like men do. Men can see it. But what men don't realize is how much firmness they're losing, because it's a slow, insidious decline.
Right.
And so when they're 50 years old and they can still get hard enough for penetration, but frankly, it's almost noodly, but not quite.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, they think, well, that's just the way it's gonna be, and it's not. That can be reversed, because what I like to do is help people come back to full function and go beyond their what they would have had. And full function is a very hard penis that has lots of veins. It's got good innervation, it's got good blood supply. It gets hard, it gets very hard, and it stays hard for as long as he wants it to. He can hold that erection. Not only that, but he can have more languid, sensual lovemaking, where you do many different things during the time that you're intimate together that allow you to get hard, go soft, get hard, go soft, get hard, go soft, without even worrying about it. And that's possible for men to do in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s, to have a nice firm erection with some of these things that are so easy to do.
Okay. Well, I mean, it totally begs the question, because I think there's someone listening to this being like, yeah, that sounds good, Susan, but no way. And where do I even start? And
Yeah.
like maybe with some of the basic stuff people can do at home, nutrition, lifestyle factors, and
Yeah.
then we can maybe get into some of the more scientific-based therapies.
Yeah, for sure. No way, Susan, that doesn't seem possible. That's the mindset of someone who's going to fail. And I've written a book called The Pump Guide, and over 40,000 men have downloaded it, and I've helped tens of thousands of men reverse their erectile dysfunction by using something as simple as a vacuum erection device at home. But the place to start, and I do want to talk about vacuum erection devices and shockwave therapies and PRP, exosome stem cell. I like to lay out the full menu for people, because once you get started on the journey of regenerative sexual therapies and you start to see them work, just like when you start to work out and 10 weeks into your workout, you're like, oh, maybe there is something to this 12-week transformation thing. Right?
Yeah,
Half
totally.
the battle is just sticking with it long enough to start seeing the results. I know you know what I'm talking about.
100%.
I'm preaching to the choir, right? So the very first thing to start with is nitric oxide. Obviously, you've got to watch your testosterone levels. And I think it's very, very important to know what your testosterone numbers are and to consider testosterone replacement therapy. The second piece of it is to do nitric oxide supplementation. You can eat your leafy greens. If you're not susceptible to oxalates, right, because there is that issue where some people do develop kidney stones from eating too many greens. But you need the greens and the beetroot to help your body generate the nitric oxide, which is the signaling gas that your body creates to move the blood around in your body. You don't have enough for blood everywhere, so what your body does is it pumps it using vascular tone. It squeezes it into your brain when you're thinking, into your heart when you're working out, into your private parts when you're intimate. And if you're using antibacterial mouthwash, you've short-circuited that nitric oxide production because you've killed off the bacteria in your mouth that turn the nitrates into nitrites.
Yep.
If you use proton pump inhibitors or acid blockers in your stomach, you can't turn the nitrites into nitric oxide, so you stunted that. So you're low. Not only do you have half the nitric oxide at 50 you had in your 20s, but if you do any of those things, don't eat your vegetables, use antibacterial mouthwash, use acid blockers, you are further diminishing your body's production of nitric oxide. You can't get the blood to your penis. You can't get the blood to your vulva. So taking a citrulline-based supplement is best for people over 40. versus an arginine-based supplement. And when you do that, then you are starting to be able to replace the stores of nitric oxide. That helps get the blood flow where it needs to go. Then you have to deal with, oh, geez, I have venous leakage, I'm not staying firm. And that's where you move into your GAINSWave treatments. And I want to explain what GAINSWave is. So I'm actually a spokesperson for the company, and I went to them and I called on the CEO and I said, hello, I'm Susan Bratton. I'm an intimacy expert and I love what you're doing here. And I feel like I just want to tell everyone about it. And I want to let men know because my husband had gone through it. It's such a good treatment. It's non-invasive. It doesn't hurt. And basically what it does is it uses these little sound waves on your penis. It's an outpatient treatment. You can do it on your lunchtime. You do a series of 6 or a series of 12. And then you can maintain it to go a few years. You might have to do a few more because you're aging all the time. So you're trying to stimulate new tissue growth in the penile tissue that knocks the plaque off the veins, helps get that smooth muscle tissue supple again, and it regenerates nerve tissue as well as the vascular tissue as well as the penile tissue. So basically what it does is it stimulates new tissue growth, brings in your own body's stem cells and growth factors to repair and rebuild and remediate the age-related and lifestyle-related damage. So when you go to a GAINSWave doctor, 9 times out of 10, they're sending you home with a penis pump, a vacuum erection device. You can buy one separately. For the guys that can't afford to go to a GAINSWave, I say start with a penis pump. Every other day for 10 to 12 weeks, you'll be amazed at how much you can reverse the atrophy. Because when you put your penis into the chamber, I've got some chambers here I could show you, you pull the blood, it creates a vacuum in the little chamber, the cylinder that goes over your penis, and the blood comes from your body and draws into the penile tissue, expanding it and increasing blood carrying capacity, doing tiny little micro tears of the penis, just like building a bicep. You're doing your tears. Because what happens is when you stop having nighttime erections, the number one canary in the coal mine for heart disease is loss of erectile function.
For sure. And they developed Viagra and Cialis because they were looking for heart medications to lower blood pressure.
Bingo. Exactly right. You know it. And what's great about that is that when you use a vacuum erection device and you pull the blood in, it expands the carrying capacity of the penile venous system such that when you do it, it's pulling all that oxygenated blood in there. And all that oxygen's finally getting back into the penis, because if you stop having nighttime erections, that cardiac arrest, the men who go into cardiac arrest, they stopped having nighttime erections. Now the penis is staying in a contracted state instead of getting full and getting flaccid, getting full, getting flaccid 4 or 5 times a night. If it just stays in a contracted state, it starts to atrophy, and then everything starts to shrink. So there's another company I want to tell you about. I don't know if you've heard of this company. It's called FermTech. They have a penis ring, an elastomer wrap that goes around the shaft, the base of the shaft of the penis, and around the testicles. And it has a strain gauge with a Bluetooth app that will literally tell you frequency of erection and duration of erection during nighttime as well as during intimate moments. And so while you're doing your biohacking regenerative therapies, you're getting your GAINSWaves, you're using your pump, you're taking your nitric oxide, you're bringing up your T levels, you can wear the FermTech Tech Ring, and literally Bluetooth app tracks your return to health. I call it the Aura Ring for your ding-a-ling.
Nice. Very nice.
I know, it's a lot. So we have the technology, Anthony. We can reverse all this stuff. And then you can get into penis enlargement, because honestly, there are a lot of men who are like, I'm only 4 inches, I'm only 5 inches, I'm only 6. all women want to be rich and thin, all men want to have a bigger man cannon. So the idea that you can take what you have and even keep going with the pumping to do male enhancement, this is where you get into the biohacking, where no matter what you're born with, in 10 months of consistent use of the vacuum erection device, you can go 25% greater penile overall dimension. And the pump that I recommend is called the Whopper because it's a 2-cylinder system. And I'm a spokesperson for this company. These are my 2 companies. And I like to say that I am because I want you to know how much I believe in these things, that I've put my personal name and reputation behind these modalities. And I wanted to take away the fear, the fact that people are like, oh, I have to live with it. No, you don't. I'm 61. I'm having the best sex of my life. My genitals don't hurt. They're full of pleasure. I don't have dryness, loss of lubrication. I have fantastic orgasmic response. My male partner of 30 years has incredible erectile function. And we are sailing into our 60s having the best sex of our lives. And it's only going to get better because sex gets better with age. We get better at it. We're more confident and comfortable. So if we can keep our parts working, we can have the kind of sex span that keeps us looking 10 years younger than all the people we're hanging out with our own age. That research study in Europe that they showed 2,500 people, pictures of people between the ages of 18 and 80. And this certain group of people, these certain people in the photos, everyone said, oh, they're 10 years younger than they actually were. They guessed them 10 years younger. They called them the super young, and they tried to figure out what it was that made these people young. And the only correlation they could find is that these were people who were having intimate relations 3 times a week or more. So when you expand your sex span, when you keep your intimacy going, you're younger, fitter, happier. You get that neurotransmitter cascade, that hormone cascade, all the oxytocin. You get so much benefit from it. So if it's the issue of your equipment failing you, I want you to know it can be repaired.
Nice. Great answer, and really, really informative and
Good.
funny and great. What about the women? Are there comparable things like GAINSWave for the ladies out there in case they feel like some of the lady parts are not working comparably? And what can we do? Is there anything to be done on and around the clitoris? Maybe we also move into talking about vaginal dryness, and then we're naturally talking about menopause, estrogen changes, etc.
Yeah. Well, there is. There's FemiWave.
Nice.
So there's FemiWave, and there's something called the VFit, which is a vagina device. It's at vaginadevice.com. FemiWave is at femiwave.com. GAINSWave is at gainswave.com. Firmtech's at firmtech.com. They're all at their company names. You can find them. And so here's the things that happen to women. We start to lose our orgasmic intensity because we're having essentially erectile contraction, same as our guys. We stop lubricating as well because our nitric oxide has fallen and we can't get the blood into our pelvic bowl. The vagina is a muscle, not a gland. It doesn't have any self-lubrication, and it is made of this multi-layers of what are called vaginal mucosal lining, like the inside of our mouth. It doesn't wet itself. The way it works is during arousal, blood flows to the pelvic bowl and seeps through the vaginal mucosal lining to lubricate us. So if we can't get the blood flow to our pelvis, we can't get the lubrication. The tissue itself also thins in our whole vulva, not just the vaginal lining, but the entire vulva. We start to thin, the labia get thin, we start to atrophy, we start to sag a little bit. And all of that is due to the loss of blood flow and the atrophy of aging, the retraction of our vascular system, etc. That also contributes to the incontinence that women suffer from.
Yeah.
Urge and stress incontinence, because the musculature, the less we have sex, the less we have orgasmic contractions, the less our muscles get used. It's like losing the nighttime erections for men. When we're not having our orgasms and contracting, we're losing all that pelvic health and pelvic musculature. Our urinary system starts to sag and leak and not work as well. So the best combination of things for the female body is, of course, nitric oxide supplementation. Number one, eat your leafy green vegetables and top yourself up. Number two is a combination of the FemiWave treatments, which are acoustic wave on the whole vulva. Out from the outside. They apply it on the outside, and it goes into the body and stimulates new tissue growth of the mons, the outer labia, it plumps them back up again, the clitoral structure, and the perineal structure to give us that sling response again, so it holds everything up. We've got gravity issue, us gals, we have gravity issues. And that helps reverse the incontinence, restore lubrication, restore clitoral orgasmic intensity, and make the outer labia look pretty again by plumping them up. So that's great. And you can there's always the DIY, do-it-yourself, at-home device, the vagina device, which uses red light therapy, photobiomodulation, to stimulate mitochondrial growth and tissue growth intravaginally inside the vagina. The vagina device also, in addition to the red light, has warmth, and it has a vibration that's like a Kegel toning, so that if you're feeling like you're getting, kind of prolapse, your tissue's getting thin, you're not lubricated, it also, the red light restores the glycogen balance to the vaginal microbiome. The good bacteria that keep your vagina in good shape eat the glycogen for breakfast. And if you don't have good glycogen stores in the vaginal mucosal lining, you tend to have bacterial vaginosis, yeast overgrowths, urinary tract infections. That's one of the things that estrogen helps with when you apply estrogen intravaginally. It also helps with urinary tract infections because it's helping to keep the tissue plumped up. So that all of that works synergistically together.
Okay. What's the importance of HRT in this picture? I know you mentioned with the guys that taking testosterone replacement therapy or just optimizing testosterone, I'll put words in your mouth, is a beneficial component. How many women would you say, and maybe this is not the exact right question, that are having like great ageless, even better sex in their 60s, maybe even 70s, who are not taking some kind of bio-HRT or whatnot? How important of a component is that, particularly for the ladies?
I can only speak for myself.
Okay.
But I'm 61, and I take estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. I also make a yogurt that I put in my morning smoothie that has oxytocin. It has the lactobacillus reuteri that generates oxytocin for me. And I don't think that I would have the vaginal resilience that I do. I don't think that my skin would look as good. I don't think I would have the same cognitive function. I certainly wouldn't have the neuro and heart protection that estrogen affords me. The testosterone keeps the clitoral structure of my vulva much more resilient and thicker, so that I have more pleasurable sensations. I have more libido. I have a very high libido. And the progesterone, of course, balances the whole system and helps with nighttime sleep. So I have better rest and recovery from all of the working out that I do, et cetera. And my body can restore and maintain and do its autophagy and mitophagy and all of the things that it does at night. So I am a massive proponent of hormone replacement. I think that the the women's study from the 80s that did so much damage to our females to not be able to have hormone replacement has been one of the worst things that's ever happened to women in the 20th century, I guess it would have been. And if it's available to you, why would you not want to try it and do it? I am aware that there are some women who have a certain genetic profile that doesn't allow them to do it, but it's so easy to get our genetics tested. We can test for the BRCA gene. If we don't have the BRCA issue, then why wouldn't we want to replace things that are lost so that we could go on and increase not just our sex span, but our health span with hormones? I also look the same way at peptides. Our body stops having the ability to produce the same, procedures that it used to. And when you can help it remember and give it the things that it needs to do the repairs that it can to keep you younger, why would you not do those too? It takes a lot to learn about these things, but they're not actually that complex. They're not actually that expensive, and it just takes learning about them. And I know that somebody who listens to your podcast is a lifelong learner who wants to have optimal health. And I feel like if there was anything I wouldn't give up of all the things that I do, besides daily exercise, it would be hormones. I would never give them up. I won't give them. I will take them for the rest of my life. They really keep me young, sharp, and sexy, I feel, and beautiful.
Nice. That's a powerful answer. I can
Good.
definitely tell your conviction. And for people who are maybe going through, I don't want to say regular doctors, but I think there's in the medical landscape, there's some allopathic doctors or just doctors that aren't privy to this yet. Maybe they just need to catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
Where do people search in your experience to find someone who's aligned? Are they finding someone who is offering peptide therapy, advertising HRT, GAINSWave clinics, et cetera? Do these people do the hormones? That might be beyond. I know I'm not asking you to find every person listening their local doctor, but what's the approach to start to get into this if someone's very curious from this conversation?
Oh, yeah. It's actually very easy. Every functional doctor does hormone replacement therapy. That's kind of one of their stock and trades. So you can just have a functional doctor. But honestly, more and more and more in the allopathic traditional healthcare systems, doctors are starting to realize that they do need to help people with hormone replacement. So start with your healthcare providers. Talk to what your healthcare providers need is a symptom. So they can put a code, so they can give you what you want.
For sure.
So the good news is that for male-bodied people, it's I'm having muscle mass loss. I can't seem to get to sleep well. I'm starting to be forgetful, things like that. For the female-bodied people, it is I've got hot flashes. I can't sleep at night. It's those kinds of things. And then you have a symptom that needs a pharmaceutical answer, because that's how that system works. And so you just get the right codes for them and they can give you what you want. You can get it very inexpensively through your Walgreens or your CVS's or what have you, your pharmacies. 90% of the time, if you work within the system, you can figure it out. But if you can't, then functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, there are a lot of companies like Marek Health, your GAINSWave and FemiWave doctors will all be able to do it. There's hormone clinics.
Are out there.
They're out there. They are out there.
That was good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to pivot a little bit in our last few minutes speaking and kind of talking about more the relational aspect of this.
Sure.
I hear about your relationship with your partner, husband, and it sounds amazing. You're both
Good.
very
It is.
aligned with, living this full ageless life and working on it together and seeing great results. I imagine that's not always the case with everybody listening. Sometimes we have partners that are on a different wavelength than us. We want to go forward and they want to stay there. And I think many people find themselves in a sexless marriage where one partner seems to have some drive and the other one doesn't, and there's some dissatisfaction in that area. How do you begin to help people see truth in this situation, and what do you suggest if people are in this situation?
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of times it's very difficult for people to talk to their partner about the deficit of intimacy. Mm-hmm. And I've found that it's often, I have a very large following, and I have an email newsletter that I've had for. You said your ops manager has been on my email newsletter for a long time.
Yeah.
I sent out an email a couple of years ago to my whole list, and I said, tell me why you're not getting the intimacy that you want, with the exception of you don't have a partner. That's not the problem I'm trying to solve right now. But if there's something holding you back from having the intimacy you want, let me know what it is. And I won't be able to reply to all of you at the same time because there'll be too many of you. I'm sending this out to everybody. So I'm going to get hundreds and hundreds. And I just saw them, boom, 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 coming into my inbox. Boom, 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 boom. And Maurice, a woman who's been working with me for over a decade in my care team, she and I went through every single one and we organized and sorted all of them. And what we realized was that for most people, they had some kind of a health issue because your libido and your health are the two sides of the same coin. If you don't feel well, you don't have a libido. So there were health issues and there were betrayals. 20% of people were betrayed by their partner and couldn't get over it. So that was an emotional issue. So there were like emotional and physical issues. And what I realized when I looked at all the problems was that when people stop being intimate, when they stop quote unquote having sex, which to most people means intercourse, it was because of some issue where they looked at it in this really black and white way. It was like an all or nothing. Well, if we can't have intercourse, we might as well I don't even want to be touched. I don't want to have,
Sure.
I don't want to do anything anymore. And so I created basically this process. I call it the magic pill method. Because I laid down to bed that night after I went through and organized all 400 of these responses. And I thought, okay, because I saw the responses and I was like, I could fix that, I could fix that, I could fix that, I could fix that, I could fix that. Like I realized I just need to give the tools to the people to fix the problems themselves.
Right.
I can't fish, I got to teach them to fish. What do I teach them? What do they need to know to overcome, remove the obstacles and go over the roadblocks? And really it was a communication tool that they needed. They needed to find out. So the Magic Pill Method, it's at magicpillmethod.com because I can't do it justice here in the time that we have. But most men, this is generalizations, most men don't want to talk about their wish to have more sex because their female partner shuts them down, stonewalls them, talks around them, gets pissed off at them, all like uses all these kind of immature defense mechanisms is essentially what they are. And I'm not saying it's always the man that wants more and the woman doesn't, but it's the most common. So I'm using it as the example. Insert yourself anywhere here,
Right.
We're all the same ultimately in most of the ways. And so what I basically got them to get you to do in this Magic Pill Method is I get you to make this list of all of the things you used to do that you miss doing. And then a subset, all of the things on that list that you still could do. Mm-hmm. And then what's holding you back from doing the things you can't do anymore? Like, okay, I can't get an erection, so we can't have penetrative intercourse. Okay, well, have you heard of GAINSWave? Like, why don't we just fix the problem instead of ignoring it? And so then the fourth thing is, who in your relationship is better at making appointments, figuring things out, getting it done, taking the person there, like you have to make a commitment to fixing the problems too. There are things that aren't fixable, but you've still got 85% of the list of things you used to do on the list. So even if you can't fix everything and get back to 100%, you can go from 0 to 85 again. And the Magic Pill Method is a very specific process for doing it with worksheets in the PDF. It's just a free download, worksheets in the PDF. So even if you don't think you're ready to approach your partner about going through this conversational process that I lay out, you could do it yourself and take a look at it and see how you might be able to bring that conversation in a different way to your relationship. And so that's really what I found is that people look at stuff all or nothing and then they withdraw and then there's no intimacy and then they're in a platonic relationship and then they're miserable and then somebody cheats or then they get divorced or whatever. It's always, misery. And
Yeah.
I want to flip it back to let's go 80-20. if you can't do the 20, it's okay. Let's do the 80 because the 80 is still a lot of fun.
Nice. I love your perspective. And it's super cool that you've mentioned many, many tools that we'll also make sure we have in the show notes for people to check that out if they want to do, this detailed work of breaking things down. Yeah. Now, to wrap this up, I would actually just like to speak about your personal health routines. We know you work out and you have some cool devices for that. Yeah. You mentioned a little bit about what you do with your nutrition in the morning. Can you run us through like a day in your life? Just like, because you're a high performer, you're healthy and you're aging beautifully. So like what's a day in your routine look like from the minute you get up kind of through a regular work day and when you go to bed? I'd love to get a little perspective on that.
Sure. I can't say that one day looks like the next for me. I tend to be a person who lives in flow, and I like to have the freedom to have a lot of self-determination with my time. So I'm very lucky that a lot of my work-related activities can be done at any time. I'm not in any formal meetings. Luckily, I have my business partner who handles all the formal meetings so that I can be in a very creative space all the time. I'm currently writing 3 books.
Dang.
I'm coming out with the Quiet Vibe Awards. And I've just finished the Quiet Vibe Guide because I'm a hypersensitive person and I don't like noisy things. But there are a lot of people who live in homes with their children or with roommates, and they don't want noisy sex toys. But sex toys are so good for your sex life, and they awaken new pathways to your brain, your biggest sex organ. And I highly recommend having a number of them and cross-training. So the next book that I'm writing is called Orgasmic Cross-Training: How to Use the 7 Different Types of Pleasure Tools to Awaken and Activate Your Orgasmic Potential. And then the third book that I'm writing is called Orgasmic Intercourse, because orgasms are all a learned skill. All human bodies can have 20 kinds of orgasm, and the 20th one is wild card. Male bodies and female bodies, XX and XY chromosome. Us Homo sapiens are good at orgasm. And over your lifetime, if you have a commitment to your sexual growth, because it's like your personal growth, it continues to fuel you and expand you creatively and make you feel connected to self and other and fills your heart with love and pleasure and makes you look younger. You can keep learning to have new ones, but the one that I think is really, really important is orgasmic intercourse, because frankly, most of us are male-female pair bonded. And if a woman isn't having orgasms from intercourse, a lot of times she thinks it's her fault. She can't do it. She's just not the kind of person who can. And then her partner believes that about her. And it's back to the mindset of failure instead of success. And I want to teach all lovers who are in this male-female pair bond how to help a woman cross the gasm chasm, because it's very, very simple to do. So I get up and I write and I do podcasts with gorgeous human beings like you. And I work out every day and I go do my Vasper Cryo Red Light 3 times a week. I ride my bicycle. I run the beach stairs at my beach. I do the Empire State Building every year and stairs to make sure I can keep doing it. I like to sit in the sun during the day. I cook all of our meals. We have a morning smoothie every morning, jam-packed full of collagen and MitoPure urolithin A from Timeline, which I love. And, I'm not a spokesperson for them. I just shout it out because I like it. I'm only a spokesperson for 2 things, but I like to tell everybody all the stuff. I cook and feed my husband and my friends. I go out and visit my friends in the evenings sometimes. I don't know. I just, I kind of live in a flow state of creative pleasure. I think I live in a flow state of creative pleasure. That's what I do every day.
That's really beautiful to hear. And it's clearly something that you've just cultivated through this. It's like the external expression of this internal work that you do and help other people do. So that's very clear and really awesome and inspiring to hear.
Thank you.
So Susan, this was a pleasure. I think we covered a good amount in a pretty short amount of time. I'd love to turn it over to you one more time to direct people to anywhere you'd like to, knowing that there's going to be show notes and show links for everyone. You have these upcoming books. We had a lot of different things to mention today on the podcast, so people are definitely going to be researching from this. So please tell us where they can learn more, join your awesome mailing list, etc.
Yeah, you can join my mailing list at susanbratton.com. It's my name. You can follow me on Instagram at Susan Bratton. My video website, betterlover.com, has hundreds of videos. One of the ones that I'd recommend for your audience is Passionate Lovemaking Step by Step, and another one that is called How to Give a Yoni Massage, and another one that's called How to Make Love to an Old Lady.
Nice.
And I think that's about it. That'll get you some. There's Magic Pill Method, the Pumping Guide. I mentioned those. I think that's all.
Yeah.
I think we got them all.
I think
Thank you
people
for
have
having
some-
me.
People have some rabbit holes to go down now, for
Yeah.
sure. And this was a pleasure. Very, very fun. Thanks for showing up the way you do. I appreciate it, Susan.
My pleasure.